You were obviously up there yesterday. From the stands, what it looked like to you? Because for me, for 70 minutes of that game, Spurs were just not at the races, not good enough, fundamentals not being met, clear gaping holes at the back once again, defending absolutely shocking. What was it like up there?
Yeah, look, going up there, no one really expected anything. I think before the game, we both expected heavy defeats or games where we were going to be on the back foot, having to do a lot of defending, and Liverpool were going to create a lot of chances. And when the game started for 70 minutes, I think we got what we thought we were going to get, to be honest, which was Tottenham just open like the Red Sea, absolutely carved open, so easy to create chances. What I didn't expect was how we set up in terms of that midfield. I have to say, when I saw the lineup, I was actually disappointed when I saw the lineup. I understood what he was going for. I understood the logic behind it. I don't think he did it to contain Liverpool. I think he did it so he matches up their midfield with aggression. And I think his thinking was, if we can get these three midfielders, Bentancur, Sarr and Bissouma, pressing high, winning the ball in dangerous areas, then they won't have to be the most creative. They can just play the ball very quickly into the front line and hopefully open up Liverpool on that front. But Liverpool did something very smart. They gave us possession, which is pretty much what everyone has been doing in the last few weeks. It's just giving Tottenham possession and making sure that if we're going to create chances, we're going to have quality to do that. And once Liverpool did that, it made that midfield three completely mute. It made them useless, essentially, because we would have the ball a lot. We would be in their half. And I was sitting next to Chris Callan on the day, and I told him, I bet you we win the ball up high and we've got nothing. We won't do anything because we've got nothing on the ball. We've got no creativity. We've got no goal. And I thought we did. Like, we won the ball quite a few times in good positions and did nothing because we had no creativity and no one actually with a bit of effectiveness in that final third. Johnson and Kulusevski, both of them were ineffective on their wings. Son could make it stick centrally as well. And essentially what would happen is we would not be able to keep the ball in the final third as soon as we got close to them, and Liverpool just really aggressively attacked our left-hand side, like every single time. Very good. As soon as they could, get the ball out to Salah, literally as soon as possible, and it paid dividends. They were getting in time and time again. Emerson can deal with that situation. Trent as well on that side was giving overloads. Harvey Elliott was also coming over to that side and causing absolute havoc. And it was too easy for Liverpool on the counter-attack to completely carve us open and create chance after chance. Vicario was making save after save. And it was only a matter of time, I felt, before obviously we conceded that first goal, which we did. Terrible defending. And what I was really pissed off about, though, is if you look at the second goal and then also the fourth goal, the lack of aggression, movement, players just standing around, not talking to each other, not alert, not looking at danger, just standing around and just waiting for things to happen and waiting to concede. That was a real big worry. The fact that there were players there just standing around, not running, not trying to close things down. When you had that Gakpo cross for the first goal, people just watching him cross it. I know Emerson gets panned for marking Salah, which he should because it was terrible, but everyone's just watching Gakpo take his time to cut inside and cross the ball to the back post. We had three centre mids all in the centre in the penalty area, marking no one, just standing around watching him cross it. I thought it was pathetic.
Yeah, to be honest, pathetic. I don't even think it was just those two goals. I think it was all of them. Every single one. You see midfield players, Bissouma, Bentancur, and Sarr just jogging back like they have no care in the world when Liverpool are piling on us. I thought it was a disgrace,
but when
absolute disgrace.
Defense, when we're in settled defence, we should be like looking for danger, closing people down, making it hard for them. And it's like they're just walking around, standing around. They're not running. When Gakpo's about to line up across, they're not running to close him down. They're just watching him do it. When Elliott's about to shoot, no one's charging at him. They're just watching him shoot. It's like it was when the second goal just for half time. Everyone's just watching things happen. They're watching Robertson come at the back post without a care in the world. I watched that second goal again. I don't know what the hell Decky is doing.
Yeah.
What? He's running away from Robertson.
I know.
It was weird.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know if he misjudged it or something.
I don't know.
The cross comes in, right? Anyone knows if Decky's going to have to defend that situation, he has to try and confront Robertson. But he runs away from him. He runs away from him for some reason, allows Robertson just to get the cross in. Salah gets the shot, which everyone is like a statue in the centre watching Salah get the shot off, and then everyone's like a statue again watching Robertson put in the rebound.
Yeah,
I
Porro completely loses Diaz as well. Porro as well.
Didn't understand
every single player. Just that Kulusevski, you're right. It completely pissed me off watching that time. I've watched it about 4 or 5 times, just trying to figure out what Kulusevski is actually like thinking right in that moment. Kulusevski was shocking.
The only thing I can think of is he thinks
shocking.
Robertson is going to miss it, so he was running to collect the ball. And I don't know what he's thinking because Robertson's clearly getting there, so I don't understand that.
But tell me this, because we've seen these kind of traits in Spurs players before. It seems very similar to the back end of last season, that run that we went on when Conte got sacked, Stellini came in, Stellini gets sacked, Mason comes in. We've seen it before maybe in other seasons as well, the back end when managers ultimately get sacked. And this is what I'm seeing, these same traits of players not fighting for the badge and not fighting for the manager. Like, are there players in this camp that don't believe in Ange? Are there players in this camp that are not fighting for him? Like, is he losing the faith of these players? Like, I don't understand what's going on, because at the beginning of the season, all these players were willing to run through brick walls for Ange Postecoglou. And at the beginning of this season, all the fundamentals were being held, weren't they? And now you're looking at a team, and I think Bar, Romero, Van der Ven, and maybe players that come on later in the latter stages of the game, no fundamentals are being met.
That's the worrying thing at the moment. I can't deny that this is our worst period of the season. This is the time of the season as well we should be looking to build foundations for next season. We should be looking to build some momentum so that we can build something special for next season. And it seems as though a lot of the players have just stopped playing for Ange. And these are look, let's not get it twisted. What we're seeing in recent weeks are the performances of what you'd usually see when players have stopped giving a crap about the manager.
Yeah.
That's the reality. I can't deny that. As much as I believe in Ange, I like his football. I want him to work. I'm not sitting here saying Ange out. I'm just simply saying this could have been at the back end of last season, and you wouldn't be able to tell. Yeah. And last season, no one gave a shit about anything. None of those players. We were getting battered left, right, and centre. All the players had given up, and even under Conte last season, I know before his run against Southampton, the performances were probably better than what we've seen recently. At least we weren't getting battered. We weren't playing well, but at least we were in games and they were close and whatever. The football's boring. I'm not saying I prefer that. I'm just saying that if I'm comparing that to this, it's not like we were getting battered every single week. We only started getting battered once Conte was sacked. What we've seen since the Villa game is very similar to what we saw post-Conte last season. Very similar. And yeah, you can say we won some games. We also won some games post-Conte as well. It doesn't mean that, the players were fighting. They weren't. You could see they'd given up. So I can't sit here and say that these performances are any better than that, because we've looked completely open. We haven't created a single opportunity. Yes, in spurts we play some nice football, but we're not doing anything with the ball at the moment. We're not creating a single opportunity. Players don't seem to want to run back when we lose the ball. We're getting the wings are getting completely overloaded and doubled up on. Especially yesterday was definitely a case of I saw a lot of lack of effort. 100% I saw a lack of effort.
We saw that at Chelsea as well.
Definitely a lack of effort. I think the North London derby I didn't see that, but the last 2 games I definitely have. I definitely have seen players just not running, not being aggressive.
I think we saw a bit of that at Newcastle as well.
Newcastle, Fulham. I think we've seen a bit of that. So it's hard to justify, to be honest. It really is. It's very hard to justify what is going on right now, because this should, like, yes, we've had excuses for Ange the whole season. That, just after the Chelsea game, we lost 4 out of 5 games. But you could see we were playing well. It was clearly the injuries that were hampering the performances. January, February, March, we had some inconsistent form. That's fine, because Son was out on the AFCON. We had players away from international duty. Maddison, Bentancur, blah, 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 all coming back from injury. And, there's all these excuses you can give them for why the form was inconsistent. And I think those are all fair excuses. But since the Villa game, where we won 4-0, put ourselves in the driving seat for top 4, all these players have been back. All these players are now having more time to build their fitness. And it seems as though the more fit they're getting, the worse we're getting. The more players we've gotten back to full fitness, the worse we're playing, the less we're trying. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how you justify that. I don't know how I can explain in my mind how the more players we're getting back and the more they should be building fitness because there's more time, the worse we're getting. How are we getting worse? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
it doesn't.
I know. I've been thinking about it probably since that Newcastle game, and I just don't understand it. It can't take just for Destiny Udogie to be out to look so open. These players, it's just like, it's clockwork, isn't it? Like one little thing goes wrong in the season and then they just give up. So Ange has been saying in the press conference in the embargoed section before this game, saying, he needs to make a lot of changes to this squad. And who's he talking about? Because Pedro, in terms of the starting lineup yesterday, none of them are actually bad players apart from maybe Emerson Royale. You look at Pedro Porro. Everyone loves Porro. First half of the season, he was probably one of the best right-backs in the league. Romero and Van de Ven, I don't think they've given up, and I actually think they're both trying, even though they didn't have the best performances yesterday. I did see effort from those two yesterday. But the rest of them, Bissouma, he probably had a better game than he has done in previous games, but defensively and in terms of getting back and fighting for the cause, he was nowhere to be seen.
I thought in that first half, especially when we had goal kicks, he was hiding.
He was hiding, but on the ball, I thought he was actually a bit better than he has been in previous games.
The second half, he was great. I thought it was brilliant, especially in that last 20 minutes. I thought he was exceptional. But for a lot of the game, he was
like you can't however good he was on the ball at times, you cannot account for what he was doing in that first half and not chasing back and not busting a gut to show himself for the team. That is always inexcusable. Bentancur as well. Sarr, he just keeps losing the ball in the most terrible areas as well. Jogging back, Bentancur jogging back, Kulusevski nowhere to be seen. Brennan Johnson, until he moved on to the right in the last stages of the game, he was terrible. Son, I think in the first 60 minutes until he moved over to the left, I thought he was nowhere to be seen as well. So what is going on with each and every one of these players? Because individually they're all good players. Mm-hmm. So I just don't understand.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I was saying to you after the Chelsea game. I was like, who's not going to be here next season? Which one of these players are we actually selling?
But Ange did say that, all right, some of these players might be good players, but they do need to move on because maybe they're just they've had too much over the previous kind of leaderships and managers. But then you're looking at it, Bissouma, he could be one. I'm happy for Bissouma to stick around, but I'm happy for him to go as well.
There are reports saying he's not one that's looking.
He said he is one if a viable offer comes in.
There was reports saying that he's not one that we're actively looking to sell.
No, but if a good offer comes in, they're happy to let him go.
But this we're talking about performances, right, which are completely unacceptable, and we need change. Need change isn't if a good offer.
There's too many of them though. Like you can't just say like all of them can go in one window. This is going to take a long process.
What I'm trying to say is need change is players that need to go so we can progress. Need to go doesn't mean if a good offer comes in, then we're looking. Need to go means we need to get these guys out. That's what I'm saying. So which of these players do we need to get out?
So I think when you're looking at the defence, I think Emerson clearly needs to go. He's definitely one that needs to go. Whatever position he comes in, he's just not good enough. He can have competent performances, a few here and there, but he 100% needs to go. Højbjerg, he needs to go. He's stuck around for too long. How many different managers has Højbjerg had here? He came in under Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, and now Postecoglou. Who else completely needs to go? I would even say potentially Richarlison. I know he come in and done well yesterday, but I'd be happy to see the back of him. I think there's a good chance that he could be off this summer. They said Bentancur and Kulusevski are here to stay, so those two are out of the question. Sarr can stay. I would say Basuma. I don't think Basuma needs to go, but I think we need someone that's better than him. So he's a squad player essentially. I think Basuma needs to be a squad player for next season, and you bring in a monster six that is starting week in, week out, and it's up to Basuma to fight his way back into the team and fight himself for a future at this football club. Then there's all the players coming back from loan who obviously need to go. All the players essentially with 1 year left in their contract, bar Heung-min Son, I think need to go.
Okay, but in terms of who started yesterday, that's only Emerson, really.
Yeah.
Out of those players who started. So that's a problem if a lot of these players are going to be here next season. In terms of at least what I would say is in the second half, obviously it was 4-0, game was over anyway, but in those last 20 minutes we did show a bit of what we can do. I thought having Lo Celso next to Maddison really did help. Having Richarlison up front in those last 20 minutes and Son on the left, Son actually had one of his better games from the left-hand side yesterday, I have to say. He gave Trent a lot of trouble in those last 20 minutes, so that was good. Rishi actually gave us a bit of presence up front, someone who can make the ball stick a bit, and he was actually giving Van Dijk a lot of problems, actually, so fair play to him. And I thought, Lo Celso, Maddison really helped quicken up our play, made it a bit more incisive, actually gave us like a purpose when we were going forward. And all of a sudden we were opening up Liverpool just very, very quickly, and we could have, again, a bit like the Brighton game. On another day, if we get a penalty for that chance on Johnson, or if Richarlison buries that chance, who knows what could happen?
Yeah. On the flip side, though, they were still opening us up.
They were
at will.
They were, but at least we were creating chances. This is what I was saying before the game. This is exactly what I was saying. And in fact, Ange did the opposite of what I suggested, because I suggested put another attacking midfielder in there and he put another defensive midfielder in there. My point was, which is pretty much bore out in how the game went, we are so open, right? Even with all these defensive midfielders, even when we're trying to put players in there to stop us looking as open, I'm guessing, or whatever. Like, we're open anyway. Even with Bentancur, Sarr and Basuma, 3 defensive midfielders in there, we were still as open as anything you would ever likely to see. So if we're going to be this open, you might as well throw another attacking midfielder in there, because at least you can create something. At least you double down on your attacking efforts. And yes, you might concede 2, but you might score 2, rather than concede 4 and score none, essentially. And I thought we looked so much better when Maddison and Lo Celso. Well, at least we could keep the ball a bit. And yes, Liverpool did create chances, don't get me wrong, but we did. Before, we weren't creating anything. Liverpool were creating and we were creating nothing. Yeah. At least they created and then we created, and then it was a bit of back and forth, and at least we had something to show for our possession, whereas before we had absolutely nothing. Yeah. So that's what I want to see Ange do, for the last 3 games. Just go for it. If you're going to play these tactics, you might as well double down on them, if you know what I mean.
What midfield 3 are you playing for the last 3 games of the season?
I want to see Maddison, Lo Celso, Basuma.
Basuma?
Or whatever.
Whoever plays in the 6, I guess, is terrible. But
Basuma, I thought, did well with those 2. The 3 of them did well together.
Yeah, but those traits he's showing just piss me off so much. I know he did all right on the ball, and maybe that's enough to keep him in the team because no one else is doing anything more than that. But I mean, for those moments that he shows in the first half and stages of the second half as well, just not showing for the team, not busting a gut to get back when we look in trouble, just pissed me off so much, and it warrants coming out the team. But the fact of the matter is that we don't have anyone else that can step into that position and do any better than him.
That's reality in the moment.
So I guess you're right then, and Basuma has to play. But I agree. I'll probably go Maddison, Gio in the 8 and the 10. For the coming games. And this is what I keep saying, like, what more does Giovanni Lo Celso have to do to get a start in this team? No midfield player is playing well. Lo Celso, every time he comes on, he seems to do well, and he just can't seem to get a game. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, the goals that we conceded were terrible. Emerson Royale, oh my God. After that showing at Stamford Bridge, how can Ange sit there and be like, you know what, Madueke took you to the cleaners, but you'll be all right against Salah, so just go on at Anfield. It was even worse. He was even worse than he was at Stamford Bridge. And I mean, I think every single one of the goals we conceded, or 3 out of the 4 goals that we conceded, he had some sort of hand in conceding.
Yeah, that third goal, he does actually well to get back on Salah and make the challenge. He wins the ball, and then he's absolutely not aware at all of his surroundings because he's got Elliott ready to pounce on him. He's got the ball and he's facing backwards. He can play it back to a defender or play back to Vicario. He knows he's got Salah to the left of him, so he can't turn that way. He doesn't know Elliott is coming on the right, so he completely just turns right into Elliott, gives the ball away, bam, we're 3-0 down. Very, very frustrating from Emerson. Really poor for the first goal as well, with his defending at the back post. We know he's not good enough. And then the problem with Emerson is we know he's absolute dog on the ball. He's so bad. So his only saving grace is when he's doing a good job defensively. And when he's not doing a good job defensively like he was yesterday, he is basically liability. A League One player at that point.
Absolute liability. And Skippy came on, didn't he, with about 25 minutes to go. I can't remember the exact time he came on. I thought he
came on 60 minutes. He came on
60 minutes, so half an hour to go. I mean, I thought he was brilliant, Ollie Skipp, in the inverted left back role. Maybe it's a way to reinvent himself at Tottenham, but if he doesn't start Skip in the next game against Burnley at left back, I don't know what the hell he's doing. If he persists with Emerson, then even I've got to start questioning, because Skip was 10 levels above what Emerson was showing. The way he was charging down the pitch, had his hand in a couple of the goals that we scored, defensively sound, good on the ball. I thought Ollie Skip put in a proper good display yesterday.
I was really impressed with him. But to be fair, this is something, not maybe specifically Skip, but this is something that I've been saying we should be doing a long time ago when Porro or Dougie is injured. Forget Emerson in these positions. Put a midfielder there, because the midfielder is a lot more comfortable on the ball. They're going to be a lot more comfortable inverting. They're going to be a lot more comfortable in those central positions. And the midfielders in Ange's system, especially the number 8s, also do have to do a lot of defending in wide areas. They have to be comfortable in those areas anyway. So why not put a midfielder there who you know could actually fit the profile of what you need a lot better than Emerson? And what's the most annoying thing is he's shown an ability to be a bit flexible in certain positions in other places, like putting Emerson at centre-back. Because instead of playing Dyer there, because he thought Emerson has a better profile for what I want at centre back than Dyer does. Yet when he came to the fullback, he doesn't see it. He thinks, I'm going to continue with Emerson there, even though Emerson's continually played awful at fullback in Andrew's system. And when we have options, you can play in those positions. So I am really happy that he at least tried it. He took Emerson off, put Skip there, and I'm delighted that it worked a lot better as well. And I have to give a lot of credit for Skip, because it's not easy coming on against especially Salah there, who's running right the whole game. He's playing an inverted role on his weak foot. It's not an easy game to come into, especially with 4-0 down as well. And I thought he acquitted himself really, really well. I thought he was strong in the challenge. He was positive on the ball, was involved in the second goal, getting into the box as well, showed a bit of quality. So I think we should be playing a midfielder in that position going forward.
Yeah, sure. Would you persist with Skip then after that performance?
If Skip, I mean, it doesn't have to be Skip, but but I'm happy for it to be Skip. It should be a midfielder, is my point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess essentially, like, anyone that was going to come on and just show like the fundamentals of being a Tottenham player, of, you know, showing like you care, putting in challenges, running about. There was one moment when Skip was caught up the field a little bit and he sprinted and busted a gut to get back. And I think that was the first player that did that the whole game. And I was like, is this all it takes to get in our good books now, just like sprinting back? And it was just like madness. It was like, these players are getting paid the best part of 100 grand a week, all of them, and they can't even run back and fight for the cause. It's absolutely mad to me.
Yeah, and that's what it's been like recently for one reason or another. And it's hard to put your finger on why it's happened this way. I don't know if they're running on empty. I don't know.
How are they running on empty? They've played the least amount of games out of any Premier League team this season.
Because we do play a very intense style, and they have been injured for a lot of the season. So I don't know how that's affected a lot of these players. I particularly. We know that in Ange's first season, we've seen historically they are usually riddled with a lot of injuries, and it takes them a year to really get up to speed physically. So regardless of how many games they've played, I don't know whether that is some of the cause. It can't be all of it, obviously, but I don't know whether that's contributing to it. I don't know whether there's confidence issues at the moment with how we're playing. But there's something seriously wrong. I don't think anyone can deny it. The way we've played over the last 7 games, 8 games now, including Sunday, is a big concern. And if we don't put it right over the next 3, the problem is we can't really put it right unless we beat City, because that would be putting it wrong, obviously, from Tottenham, a lot of Tottenham fans' point of view. But in terms of showing that we're back on the right path, beating Burnley and Sheffield United aren't going to prove that, because we should be winning those games anyway. And the City game, no Spurs fan wants to win. That's the only real test we have from now to the end of the season. So it's a difficult one as to where this leaves us, really, going into next season.
I'm fearful that if Spurs have a bad start to the season next year, Jory was talking about this in the fan show last night, that if Spurs do have a bad start to the season, that Ange could lose his job.
Depends how bad, but yeah, I was saying that last night. The narratives will definitely be out for be against Ange. If we have a poor first 5-6 games, then everyone's going to be saying we haven't been consistent for 6 months. We've lost 4 of our first 6 games. He's got to go. He's lost the players, all this kind of stuff. And we've seen it before, haven't we? We have seen it before. And we've seen the board panic. Maybe they'll do the same.
And if the board are thinking like that, I don't think they're thinking like that now, but let's say they are, and let's say Ange has got a strike to his name with the form that Spurs are on. And let's be real, after the first 10 games, after that, our form, if you look at the league table, I think we're 10th or 11th or 12th even now. This was before these last 2 games, so I don't know where we are now. We are in terrible form, showing mid-table form since those first 10 games of the season. If the board are thinking like this, does that affect this summer transfer window in terms of how much they back Ange?
I mean, it shouldn't do, because the only reason why I would say it shouldn't, because the players that Ange, if we're going in this direction of the football we want to play, good technical ability, attacking football, then regardless of who the manager is, there should be a similar profile to what Ange wants anyway. Now, under Conte and Mourinho, they clearly wanted a different kind of player. They wanted physical players. They weren't as interested in their technical ability. Obviously, they wanted a certain level of technical ability, but their main attribute was height, strength, physicality, these kind of things. That's what they were looking for. Ange wants a very different kind of player. He wants technical players who can play under pressure, keep the ball, play in tight spaces, play the ball quickly, has good vision, these kind of things. And let's say it really doesn't work out with Ange for one reason or another, and we want a different manager. Though a manager we want, hopefully we're looking for those types of things as well. So I personally don't see a reason not to back Ange in the summer, even if for one reason we're getting cold feet. I don't think we should be getting cold feet personally.
No chance.
Let's just make it clear. I'm not saying that I want Ange gone. Obviously, I'm just saying this current form is definitely concerning and also pretty unexplainable. Those, and I think those are fair comments. But it's also fair to say that over the context of the whole season, it doesn't really matter. If we do finish 5th, we know that he can play really good football. So I obviously want to persist with him. But if it doesn't work out, then the next manager should still be a manager that plays really attractive attacking football, and those managers will still want really technical players.
When we were looking at maybe what we needed in the summer, earlier in the season, when things were going well, Spurs were saying, a 6, add something to the front line, and back up for the defence. And, Spurs are good to go for a potential title charge next season. I mean, I think it's come completely evident that we're a long way off, obviously, a title charge right now. Do you think that, is your opinion still the same, or is it such a big rebuild that it's going to take a number of years to get to there?
Do I think it's going to take a number of years? I mean, yeah, probably.
Because we were all saying at the beginning of the season that we think we can do it next year.
And I think that's what Andrew's going to be wanting to do, I think, personally. I think he's always going to have that belief that he can... Obviously, it depends how much work we do in the summer and how much is needed. It's hard to know what, at the moment, what to think in terms of what we're seeing on the pitch, because what we're seeing on the pitch is really peculiar. It's not like these performances that we've seen in the last 8 games is not the performances we've been seeing for the majority of the season. Even in our inconsistent form, we were a lot better than this. Even in those bad performances in that inconsistent form, we weren't as bad as this.
That's an issue, right? It's just got progressively worse throughout the season.
Right. So to answer that question, and you'd have to diagnose what's happening now. Is what's happening now happening because we're getting really doesn't have any of the players he needs to play the way he wants to? Is it happening because certain players are down tools? Is it happening because there's a lot of physical issues with the squad right now, and that's causing a lot of problems with inconsistency or players not being at the level to play the football that Ange wants to play? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that the players we have are good players. I think we're a lot better than what we've shown in the last few weeks. I do believe that, but I don't know why we've played the way we have in the last few weeks. It's really inexplicable, to be honest. So obviously, on the evidence the last few weeks, yeah, we're going to be nowhere near the top 2 or top 3 next season, for sure. Which is not the case, I would have said, after the Villa game.
Yeah. Well, it's a very hard one to take, this run of form. It really is unexplainable when you look at it, and you're looking at it and there's just seems to be a complete lack of fight, lack of effort, lack of drive, and lack of belief in the manager as well, from the players. So it really is hard to explain.